Hey, stranger, what's your name?
Will, what's yours?
I'm Chad.
Hi, Chad.
Freeze this moment. So when you go to connect with another human being for the very first time, what questions do we typically ask? What do you do? What do you do? How are you? Where are you from? Is it your first time here? And in a room of 800 really brilliant people, we start to slow down after about 4 questions. Like, what do you do? Where are you from? Whoa. So I was recently in Connecticut speaking to a group of 400 people in the same company, and I asked them 2 questions that I want to ask you right now. And the first was, knowing that that's our norm and that's our comfort zone, how many of you, just show of hands, love small talk, however you identify that? Show of hands. So there's like 2 people, so you all connect. Second question, how many of you in the last 48 hours have been in at least 3 conversations that you would identify as small talk? Put your hands up. Look around real quick. This is the moment, when I saw that gap for the first time, this is the moment that made me almost swear on stage. The conversations that we have don't always match the conversations that we want to have. So this guy happened to write a book about asking powerful questions and creating conversations that matter. And so I'd love for Will to frame up the experience that we're about to do.
And so our intent, thinking about what just Sean was talking about, is how can we bring that joy in the room right now and get us all connected and have a conversation that matters. And so Chad has created a deck of cards that most of you are now touching. It's there somewhere. And we're going to walk you through a process and how to engage in that. Now some of you are going, where did I do with that card? It was here when I showed up.
So the second intention in what we're about to do is for you, from this point forward, my invitation is that you ruthlessly misinterpret everything that I say and do and apply it to your own context. And so I'm going to frame up how this is going to work. And so you're going to grab your card, and in a moment, you're going to pair it. So if you're still looking for your card, it looks like this, probably a little bit smaller. So you're going to grab your card. There's a question on one side and an action on the other. We're going to leave the kinesthetics for another day and stick with the curiosity. And in a moment, what I'm going to invite you to do is pair up with somebody who you feel like you know least in this room, and you're going to ask them the question on your card. So Will, what is life teaching you right now?
And if you need to think about it, be okay with that. Just sink into it and listen to the question, and hopefully they'll listen when you start sharing. What is the most beautiful sound in the world, Chad?
So then when I answer and tell him right now it's this weird yawn that my puppy does, Will's hopefully going to listen to that answer. And then after we have that conversation, you're going to swap cards, and just signaling that you're looking for somebody new to connect with, toss your hand in the air and go find them. Now I'm going to predict that one of 2 things just happened for you. Some of you were like, ooh, questions and new people I haven't met. And some of you were like, oh, new questions and people I haven't met.
That's me.
And so I want to infuse choice into the types of conversations that you have. So 2 primary ways we have choice. So the cards that you have are color-coded. So green cards tend to have questions that are fun and light. Purple cards tend to have questions that encourage some level of self-reflection. So those are the types of cards, or the types of questions that when asked, we often need a moment to think about our response. And then blue questions tend to be a little bit deeper. So green, fun and light, purple, encourage some level of self-reflection, blue, a little bit deeper. And so the first way of choice is, as you're pairing up with somebody, if you're not in a blue card kind of mood, you can just duck and cover. All right, so that's choice number 1. Choice number 2 is a little bit more deeper. A little bit more deeper. a little bit more deeperist. And that is, questions are this beautiful key that allows us to unlock this lifetime of ungoogleable experience that all of us carry around in here and in here, everywhere we go. And when somebody tosses that question or uses that key, you get to choose what door opens up. And so if somebody asks me, what is life teaching me right now? I can answer that life is teaching me that it's a little bit warm up here with the lights and I should have worn a heavier jacket. And that would be true for me. And I could also answer that life is teaching me how to take really deliberate intention with each moment that I have, because I recently had a death in my family, came really close, and so I'm really paying attention to life right now. And that would also be true. And so part of our job and our invitation up here is to assume the social risk for you, to share what is real for you at a level of depth that might stretch where you're at right now.
So we love experiences. We want you to create this experience. And pretty soon there'll be 400 conversations going on here. So what we would like to do, in a moment we'll say go, and you guys will get up out of your seats, start walking around, find somebody you know least, and start engaging. And after a few minutes, we'll pause you by saying, are you present? And your job is to say, yes, I'm present. So let's practice. Are you present? Yes. And once we do that, we'll give you a little bit, another tool to help you go a little bit deeper if you like. And then we'll go into the cards some more. So you'll get to finish those conversations. And then we'll wrap up. Are we ready?
That's it. Pair up with somebody you know least in the room. Once you have that conversation, swap cards and go find a new person.
Are you present? Are you present?
Are you sure you're present? All right, if you can hear my voice, go ahead and look this way.
One of the greatest joys I have in this job is that once all these conversations start, people just get into it. It's lovely. So, what did you notice about your own listening? Just think about that for a moment. What did you notice about your own listening? I have a default way of listening that shows up for me.
And that is when I ask somebody a question. This is a very easy way to go, but conscious capitalism didn't say, hey, Chad and Will, can you come in and lead a session on subconscious connections? And yet, one of the ways that I go to listen, when I ask somebody, when I fall into that default of where are you from, and they answer Boston, I say, oh, I had a second cousin that drove through Boston once. And in that moment, who are we talking about? Me. And so we may be doing this with the most positive intentions possible, but what we do is say, oh, I got all this ungoogleable experience. Let me bring it out and share it with you in hopes that I can say, hey, look, we're the same. Can I belong with you? And this is the question that we're asking, and yet often the focus is on this person. So an opposite. What is the opposite of listening? Waiting for your chance to talk. Right? And so that would fall under this category of, okay, you're saying something, what am I going to say? What's your question? And you're in that moment. So a much more conscious and perhaps difficult way to listen,
which takes me a little bit of effort, is listening to understand. It's a conscious choice. It's truly a gift. When we listen from this place of understanding, our job is to get the other person. How is it that they see the world and experience the world? I want to share a quick story with you. I was working with a company in which the CEO was having problems with one particular woman. And after we did this experience, we had a follow-up conversation 2 weeks later, and he said, you know, I have to tell you that I hated that woman. Every problem that was showing up was revolving around her. and I was looking for a way to eliminate her from the company. But last time she got eliminated from a company, she sued the company, and we couldn't afford to do that. But then you had us do this We Connect thing, and you had me really pay attention to listening, and you had us do this other exercise. And what happened in that process is I randomly got picked with her multiple times. And my listening to win showed up so strong. And I began to listen to understand. And what I realized is I loved this woman. She was an asset to the company. And as I listened to understand and expanded my listening, I realized that she is a gift for the company. And all the problems was because of the systems that I put into place. 2 weeks after that conversation, he flies to London, removes those barriers, and that part of the organization, for the first time in a long time, had 2 quarters in which they were their best quarters ever. So my invite for you here is to really listen to get. What is that person who you're talking with? You'll notice something will change in the room as we do this. Just pay attention to that. Pay attention to the person you're talking to. You also might notice that your natural curiosity shows up. Ask one follow-up question if you wish, and then continue swapping, and we'll get your attention in a few more minutes. Go. Are you present?
Are you present? Are you really present? All right, if you can hear my voice, peel yourself out of that conversation.
The place that Chad and I stand is a place where access to listening to conversations and powerful questions matter.
So the way we want to end is with a question. So I'm going to ask this one question to all of you, and I want to take 10 solid seconds of silence for you to think about what is your answer to this question. What is your answer to this question? And then quickly I'm going to popcorn a couple out fast. So thinking about the experience you just had, conversations you just had in that round 1, and then with that lens of listening to understand, what struck you about the last 10 minutes? What struck you about the last 10 minutes? I have no idea what the people I talk to do for a living. Yes. What else?
How much easier it is to talk to people.
How much easier it is to talk to people.
Sincerity.
Sincerity. So that's authenticity. Welcome to conscious capitalism. There's more commonness among us than we might assume.
How quickly you can achieve depth.
How quickly you can achieve depth.
Other, not self.
Other, not self. You felt this balance shift.
So you feel it, right? The power of questions to unlock conversations. And so what we would like you to do is to continue doing that for the next 47 hours that you're together. And if at any moment that you're having difficulty,
Most of you have walked by this really brightly colored wall labeled Art of Connection. And so if you enjoyed what happened in here and want it to bleed out into this space, if we choose to trust what Sean Aker just said, that the largest predictor of happiness is social connection, and you want that to bleed out into this space, into your practicums, into the rest of these 47 hours, this big Art of Connection wall has a bunch of cards and actions that invite us into more conscious connections, and we'd invite you to participate in that collaborative mural that will help us also visualize the levels of connection and belonging and trust that we're creating in this space, which is part of the most beautiful things about showing up and being with a group of people like this for this time.
and if at any moment, this is your gift to keep. So at any moment you want to say where you're from, you can pull out your card and say, what is something you know really well? And see what happens. Have a seat.
Thank you. Rand, come on up.